Democrats' 2028 nominee is probably going to come from this one group of people. As we get into 2026, discussing the next presidential election has moved from absurdly too early to just really early. And around here, that's good enough. So let's get into it. Now, we're still forever away from knowing who's in the race, let alone winning. But increasingly, there's a case to be made that the eventual nominee for Democrats will be a governor or former governor. In fact, some potential 2028 candidates are already explicitly arguing for it.
In 28, we need a Democratic governor as the head of that ticket, and we've got a lot of great Democratic governors.
Before we get to the reasons why this could be true, let's set the table here, because Democrats have spent the past decades doing something really unusual, only nominating senators. For the past 7 presidential elections, all of Democrats' nominees for president have been senators or former senators. And that domination actually goes to the whole ticket. In the 21st century, 9 out of the 10 people who have been on Democrats' national tickets, either as the vice presidential nominee or the presidential nominee, were senators or former senators. The only exception is Tim Walz as Kamala Harris's running mate in 2024. Now look, of course it makes sense the political parties are going to have some senators on their tickets. They're powerful and they're ambitious. There's an old saying in DC that every senator looks into the mirror and sees a future president. But this kind of streak is atypical in historical terms. Okay, look, healthcare in this country is broken, including Medicare. Anyone who's tried to navigate the system knows it. It can be insanely confusing and hard. And that's the exact environment that fraudsters and scammers thrive in. I've seen people in my own life have to duck and dodge, losing their life savings just to get the Medicare benefits that they're entitled to. It's infuriating and it's unfair. And that's what Chapter wants to help with. Chapter was founded by people whose own parents got scammed in this space. Their goal is to protect people navigating the Medicare system by cutting through the noise and offering honest, unbiased help. Chapter advocates for you, not insurance companies. And they're the only advisor that compares every plan nationwide, helping you find the plan that's right for you. Chapter is free, and by their count, they've saved the average senior over $1,000 a year. So whether you're retired yourself, close to it, or just looking out for the people you love, you can get free and unbiased Medicare help by dialing 816-953-0470 or go to askchapter.org/therecount. Okay, back to the show. So back to Democrats defying history. The last time the party nominated a governor or former governor for president was in 1996. That guy. But by the time we get to 2028, that means we're on a stretch of at least 32 years without a governor leading the Democratic ticket. The last time either party went that long was more than 150 years ago. And this lack of governors is not a bipartisan issue. Since 2000, 4 of the 9 Republicans on national tickets were governors or former governors. So this kind of overrepresentation by senators in a party's leadership is unique to Democrats, and it's hard to disconnect from the party's brand problem. Right now, the Democratic Party is viewed more unfavorably than any time in modern history. And polls and focus groups have shown that a big part of that negativity is the perception that Democrats talk, but don't actually get anything done. In fact, with actual legislating grinding to a halt, talking is most of senators' job at this point. Senators also famously don't actually manage anyone, besides, their staff. And it doesn't help that Congress's approval rating is currently 50 points underwater. By contrast, governors oversee entire states, millions of people, billions of dollars. They're the chief executive of their whole state. In theory, that experience is a big asset, both when you're running and when you're governing. And that's something that governors running for president have effectively argued in the past.
It's not only what's your philosophy and what's your position on issues, but can you get things done?
Another asset for governors running for president is the ability to run against Washington, D.C. Look, everyone hates D.C. nowadays. It's just a fact. So D.C. Democrats running in 2028, the senators and House members, will have a double whammy, battling both DC's and Democrats' bad reputations. It's also worth remembering, Democrats now are in a much different position than they were after Bill Clinton or Barack Obama. They're unpopular, and their last president was unpopular. If they want to win, they need to break with that. And it could be an appealing pitch to be able to say, hey, I wasn't part of any of that Biden stuff, I didn't vote for any of his policies, I'd be totally new to DC. None of this is an ad for governors. They have their own set of problems. They're far away from the battles in DC, and they can't grab attention with speeches or filibusters or performances in congressional hearings. Policy-wise, many of them oversee the kind of high-cost, high-crime areas that have done as much as anything to wreck Democrats' brand. But It is just a statement of political reality. Governors are inherently outsiders to the Capitol. And in the past, both parties have leveraged that, nominating governors when DC or their party's caucus in DC have been unpopular. There's also this. As red and blue states become more and more different from each other on policy, each party's nominees are increasingly going to be stand-ins for the entire concept of red America and blue America. This is a really big storyline of the past few years. Because of a combination of federal regulations, laws, and Supreme Court decisions, America is increasingly divided into two totally different worlds. Now, of course, that's not totally new. There was once a time in which some states allowed literal slavery and some states didn't. But the past few years really has been a change. More and more things vary state by state, and more of those variations are huge. If you cross the border from Texas to New Mexico, you go from somewhere where women can't even get an abortion in case of rape, to somewhere where they can technically get an abortion in the 9th month of pregnancy. If you go from Washington next door to Idaho, you go from a state where taxpayer money covers some people's gender transitions to a state where it's illegal for a 17-year-old to take puberty blockers. And this is true all over the country. Cross the border from Iowa to Illinois or Maryland to West Virginia, and everything from abortion laws to vaccine mandates to education policies to religious and gun rights to immigration enforcement, they all change wildly. I really think that in 2028, both parties are going to have to adjust to that. Their nominees are going to have to be spokespeople, not just for platforms or policy stances, but a whole way of life. And the people who have had an actual hand in building that way of life, who can run on the kind of life they helped craft in their state, are well positioned for that task. And some of them are already leaning into it.
71% of the GDP in America are blue counties. Progressive policies. 7 of the top 10 dependent states.
Let's say you're right.
States.
Let's say you.
No, we're subsidizing your states, Sean, because of your policies.
So if all of this is right, who would the candidate be? Well, one of the other funny things about 2028 is just how many governors will probably enter the race. The Real Clear Politics polling average of the 2028 Democratic primary currently has governors in 6 out of the top 10 slots. Let's break it into categories. First group, basically definitely running, nothing stopping them. Gavin Newsom, governor of California, Andy Beshear, governor of Kentucky, J.B. Pritzker, governor of Illinois, and Josh Shapiro, governor of Pennsylvania. With this group, you can pretty much bet that they're running unless an act of God stops them. Second group, could back out, but probably running. Gretchen Whitmer, governor of Michigan, and Wes Moore, governor of Maryland. These are a little less sure, but keep an eye on them for vice presidential nominees too. Third group, probably not, but maybe. Jared Polis, governor of Colorado. Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota. Maura Healey, governor of Massachusetts. And Gina Raimondo, former governor of Rhode Island. These are more of the dark horses, the ones who might end up taking a chance, but we won't know it for a while. All of that is to say, there's a lot of people potentially in the mix here. And that is also a really new thing. Since 1992, when Arkansas Governor Bill Clinton and former California Governor Jerry Brown battled for the Democratic nomination, only one governor has even been in the top tier of a Democratic primary, Howard Dean in 2004. This time, there could be multiple. And that's going to change the whole chemistry of the primary. Probably fewer debates over big, unlikely policies like Medicare for All, and more debates about the specific ways that, say, California or Michigan is better on housing. Then there are the changes we don't even know about yet. Remember, this will be the first Democratic primary in 20 years that's coming after the party lost the popular vote. The last time that happened, it produced an outsider who redefined the party and the trajectory of the country. This time, it might happen again. By the way, if you're interested, these topics are some of the basic ideas around the new newsletter that I just started called The Long Run. It's all about how Democrats are trying to repair their brand problem, how they're wielding power at the state level, and how these governors are moving ahead of 2028. You can check it out and subscribe at the link in the bio. What do you think? Do you buy this theory? If you had to choose between a senator or a governor as president, who would you pick? Let me know in the comments below, and if you like this video, remember to like and subscribe, and hit the bell so you know every time we post.